You know, when we think about the first muscle car era, the one from like 1960 to 1970, 71, 72, always think about the big block cars, the glory cars, starting with like the GTO, or even before then, the factory superstock cars. But the focus is always on the big inch, high glory cars, prestige cars. But there's a big portion of that era that's kind of like completely glossed over. And it has to do with the culture of hot rodding / drag racing in that era. Because back then there was no such thing as bracket racing. If you went to the track, you were going to run in either a stock class, so A through whatever stock, super stock, or you're going to run in a modified production class or a gas class. All of your street-driven cars, all of your regular street strip cars fell into that category. And like I said, bracket racing didn't really evolve until the 70s. So you bought your muscle car and you were going to take it to the track and you were going to race against your buddies in whatever class it happened to be. And that explains a lot of these smaller inch muscle cars. Because you take something, we'll get to the specifics of this car in a minute, but the cars were designed to fit certain classes and work within that framework. Cubic inch to weight, horsepower to weight, different world than it is today, different world than we perceive it today. So Mercury at the time was like really at the top of the muscle car heap. We don't think of Mercuries as being like ground ripping, ferocious things these days. We think of Mercury Marquis with opera windows and couches for seats. But Mercury was like really at the top of the game. And even if you look at the top of the top back then, the A factory experimental classes, 1964 you had what can arguably be the first funny car with the Saxon Sun Comet, where they put a 427, not a Camry yet. First it was a wedge 427 in one of these cars blown on nitro. You also had Bob Sullivan with the Pandemonium Cuda at the same time with a blown 354 Chrysler on nitro. And those are the A factory experimental classes. But then you get down to B and C factory experimental, and the small Fords and Mercurys with the 289s were at the top of the heap. And that's what this car represents. This is a showroom version of that 289 car, or the 289 package, that was geared towards that C factory experimental, what I guess it was FGH stock or thereabouts. And that was the culture. So let's look at this car. Kiwi, this car is an absolute jewel. I pulled up and walked around it and I'm like, oh.
It's a nice car. This is one we restored about 7 years ago.
Okay.
And it was a true restoration.
As opposed to...
Yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about.
It's nice when we come here and it's not a disaster.
Yes. This is the only reason it's here. It's just a few little things.
Little upgrades.
Yeah, not even upgrades, but just maintenance. Is getting an oil change and like the shifter's gone a bit tight. Just a few little things, adjust the brakes, things like that. But it's standing the test of time extremely well. This was stripped back to bare metal. We had a little bit of rust in it from a water leak and a little bit of rust around the right rear quarter.
Right.
That was all fixed with metal.
Right, but let's talk about the history of the car itself. Now, you're very familiar with the small block Fords.
Yeah.
And the K-Code Mustangs and all.
Yeah.
So, specifically, what is this?
This Mercury in the day wanted the K-Code engine for this car.
Okay.
Which is like the 270 horse.
Right.
Engine, but Ford wouldn't let them have it. They didn't want Mercury being faster than the Mustang. So they couldn't have it. What they did was they gave them a... Rumour has it there's some K-Code components in there, and it's very grey as to what they are. But it did make 225 horse, which was more than the 4-barrel Mustang. The 4V 289 made.
Right, so this is someplace between just the hot 4-barrel and the K-Code.
Yeah. So Yeah, 4-speed transmission, not a limited slip, but it's I think it's a 330 rear axle.
And it's a 9-inch, right?
No, 8-bolt.
8-inch.
Sorry.
8-inch. Okay.
It's an 8-inch, but that's all you need with the 225 horse.
I noticed right away the motor is black.
The motor is black. It's meant to be black. That's how they came. The customer was very, insistent on it being, put back to stock.
Right.
So we did a bit of research. The motor was black when it came to us. We rebuilt the motor. The air cleaner was gold as the factory colour, and even down to the black snorkel off the gold air cleaner. That's how they were. And this car has a neat story in that it's basically one family owner. The original owner ended up passing it on to his brother-in-law, and that's who brought it to me to restore. But the original guy saw it pull into a Mercury dealership back in '64 on the top of a transporter, and turned around and went back and bought it. And
I gotta have that. Love it first sight.
He just saw it and had to have it. I mean, it's an appealing car, especially back in '64. This must have looked quite amazing.
So the chrome valve covers, the chrome extension for the oil pressure setting switch.
The chrome extension, possibly not. I couldn't vouch for that one. I think we did put that on from memory.
Okay.
But we even put the little lock tabs on here like they're supposed to have. You don't see that very often anymore. Had the valve covers re-chromed.
The breathers
they were the suitable one. One of the few changes we made was a dual bowl master cylinder, which you can barely see anyway. But it's a generator, not an alternator.
Yeah, I noticed that right away too.
Yeah.
Now the Mustangs had alternators in '64.
The 64s, the 64 and a half, as they call them, had generators.
Oh, they did.
In '65, They went to alternator.
So this is 220 horse.
225.
225.
Yeah.
What do you figure this car weighs? About 2,900 pounds or thereabouts?
Probably around there. Yeah, I'm actually not sure on the weight. It's got quite a bit of bling on it. It could be nudging pretty hard on 3,000. I would say probably.
Look at the interior of this.
But what this being a Cyclone, it is a high performance one. So it's got the 4-speed with a little wood grain shifter knob on it. It's just a really pretty car.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Fortunately, quite a lot of parts fitted off the Falcon, off the '64 Falcon. So that was helpful in the restoration of it. Just like these kick panels and stuff, the same as Falcon. But there's just more chrome in here. The seats are nice little Falcon seats.
That tack is interesting because it's got the Cyclone emblem on it.
Yes, it's an option that you bought at the dealership back in the day, but it wasn't a factory fitted one.
Okay.
Is my understanding of it. And some of this information I'm going from the owner, so.
No, that looks like a parts bin.
Yeah, but it's cool that it's got Cyclone on it.
It's perfect. It fits the car. Everything about it is perfect. The hubcaps on these things are neat. Back in the day, chrome reverse wheels were the thing on the street. Well, Ford didn't want to bother chroming the wheels, so they came up with these chrome hubcaps. And the neat thing about these hubcaps, and this is as far as I know, in the history of the American automobile, this is the very first and only car that had different hubcaps, front and back. Because this one, as you can see, has the chrome cover for the bearing. And if you come to the back, you see it's just flat to cover the rear axle.
Yeah, that confused Barry. Barry had just started working here when we were finishing up on this one. And, I said, put the wheels and hubcaps back on it. And he was like... no, that one goes on the back, that one goes on the front.
Well, people would be horrified if we didn't at least light this thing up and take it for a ride.
Yeah, we can go for a drive.
You ready to go, Uncle Kathy? That face.
We'll just do a cruise around the block, because this is...
That's totally understandable.
We can't, not really comfortable.
You don't want to hammer
even
on...
stretching its legs a little bit, it's not that car. But yeah, it's a gorgeous car. We spend a lot of time and effort doing all the chrome and taking dents out of the chrome, the stainless steel trim and polishing it. It's beautiful.
Are these emblems original?
Those all original.
These are all original, in this condition?
Not in that condition, no.
No?
No, we had to hand paint in a lot of the black checkered flag
Okay.
All those little black squares are all hand painted in. Yeah, it was a task, but you know, like it was a great result at the end of it. So it was well worth it.
Absolutely worth it. I look at this car, no matter where I look, it just makes me smile.
Yeah.
Like everything about this car is just.
Yeah.
I can relate to the guy who saw this on the transporter and said, "Oh, I gotta have that."
Yeah.
Okay, take her for a ride.
Okay. Manual steering. Yeah, this shifter's gone a bit tight, so we've got to do a little bit of work to that. Oh, jeez. Probably should have let it warm up for the camera. Finally calmed down. Quite a tall first too, I'm kind of not used to that. For a low rear axle, it's got quite a tall first. The back door to the yard now that someone destroyed our fence. And there you have it. What do you think, Kathy?
Nice ride.
Nice ride, yeah. It is. It's just a pretty car. Alright, here comes Tony. Let's do this.
Yeah.
We need to work on that choke a little bit. That's kind of hanging up, hanging off.
That's right.
Not doing
Those
anything
little
it's meant
tweaks,
to.
but that's why it's here.
Yeah, that's why it's here, yeah.
At Kiwi's Confusing Cupcakes and Crustaceans.
We get more creative all the time.
Wait, no, it's Kiwi's Classics and Customs.
Kiwi Classics and Customs.
Yes.
That's it. You got it right, so you can do it. You can teach an old dog new tricks.
So are you going to show any of this on your channel?
Yeah, we'll do a video of this. We'll get it up on the rack and kind of show you how clean it looks underneath, what's been going on in there, and show you any little adjustments we need to make. Yeah, I mean it didn't start idling right till we were kind of 3/4 of the way back.
Yeah, I heard it as you were going down.
Yeah, it's something's not quite right there, but you know.
But that's
why they
everything
bring
is
him here.
Raw and unrehearsed.
Yeah, as well as yeah.
You never know what he's going to do.
And it was
next.
stone cold, like this. We kept stalling it.
Yeah, we should have let it warm up.
We should have let it warm up. And it's got a tall first gear too.
I heard that as you were going down the street.
I'd forgotten that. It's a close ratio 4-speed, so it's got quite a tall, even though with a low rear axle,
Right.
the first gear is still tall enough to, you actually have to pay attention when you start. Like most of the V8 manuals, like you just let the clutch off and they go. You know, this wants to stall if you don't time it right.
We got a fair amount of Ford guys that follow my channel.
Yep.
Oddly enough, hi Ford guys. Show them that Mustang real quick.
Oh, the yellow one.
Yeah, look at this thing.
Yeah, come on, have a look.
So this thing caught my eye too. Man. This is perfection. It's beautiful. But it's in here for like really extensive work.
Well, it's getting a stroke of 331 in it and a 5-speed Tremec, which, as nice a car as it is, it's, to quote the owner, it's a bit dull.
Okay, he's looking to spice it up a little bit.
Looking to spice it up a bit. It was a 289, I think it's like the 170 horse or 190 horse version.
Yeah.
Nothing very startling. So we just got it. We got the new motor plopped in. We're just waiting on a few, we're waiting on headers, water pump. We're going to put a bigger radiator in it, and to keep up with the horsepower. This is 430 horse.
That'll get his attention.
Yeah, that'll truck along quite nicely, especially with the 5-speed.
And you're converting this to 5-speed.
Yeah.
And you're doing that on your channel.
Yes.
So you'll have the whole.
That whole thing will be on the channel. We're putting. It's got 4-wheel drums on it now. So
My kind of brakes.
Your kind of brakes, but a little terrifying around town with 430
I like
horse.
the edge. They're a little terrifying. You know what I mean? All right.
Yeah, I saw a meme that was perfect for you, and it was something about the brake pedals really the coward pedal.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
All right. So you want to follow this thing? Go over, subscribe to his channel, like all of his stuff, make him the YouTube god he was destined to be.
So yeah, come and have a look. Kiwi Classics and Customs.
Thank you for letting me steal your content.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
And
hey, it's all good, man.
Thanks for sharing that jewel with us, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could be honest. I'm pretty proud of that comment.
You should be. You should be.
Like after 7 years to look as good as it does that means you did it, and that's what's nice. You can't see into the future. You follow all the best practices and you do your absolute best. But it's time that's the final test.
Now, if you told me that you had just finished the restoration on that yesterday, I'd say it takes perfect.
Yeah, but it's 7 years. 7 years post restoration, so it makes me feel like we're doing it right. So yeah, which is good.
All right, that's it, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.